You just finished your renovation, and you're proud of it. The tile work is done, the cabinets are in, the paint is fresh, and everything looks exactly the way you pictured it 6 months ago when you were pulling samples and watching videos and pinning things you swore you'd actually build. And then a few years go by, and you're putting the house on the market, and the agent walks through and says something like, "We might need to price this a little conservatively." And you don't understand why. Because you put real money into this place. You did the work. You made decisions. You finished what most people only talk about. Here's the thing most homeowners don't realize until it's too late. Some of the most popular design choices being made right now are the exact ones that buyers are going to walk past, cringe at, or use as negotiating leverage against you. Not because you have bad taste, but because certain choices have a short shelf life, and others work against the house no matter what era we're in or what the market looks like. I'm Jerry Davis, and I've been in renovation and construction for over 20 years. I've flipped properties, done full gut renovations from foundation to roof, consulted on resale prep, and I've watched homeowners spend tens of thousands of dollars in ways that didn't just fail to add value, they actually subtracted it. And today, I want to walk you through 10 design choices that are doing exactly that to homes right now. Some of these are going to surprise you. A couple of them are things you probably love and did on purpose. But stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to know exactly what to protect, what to reconsider, and what to never let a contractor talk you into in the first place. Let's start with the one I see constantly, and that's accent walls done the wrong way. I'm not saying accent walls are inherently bad, but the version people are installing today, dark forest green, moody navy, deep terracotta, sometimes paired with a big dramatic wallpaper pattern, that's a very specific look. It photographs beautifully. Social media loves it. The problem is when a buyer walks in and sees one wall in your living room covered in geometric wallpaper or a color that doesn't exist anywhere else in the house, their brain immediately starts calculating how much it's going to cost them to undo it. Wallpaper removal is messy, time-consuming, and often damages the drywall underneath. That cost comes directly off your asking price. If you want an accent wall, keep it paint only, keep it a tone that still works with a wide range of furniture and flooring, and make sure it reads as intentional rather than themed. The second a room starts to feel like a theme, buyers stop imagining themselves in it and start doing math instead. Now let's talk about open shelving in the kitchen. Can we please stop pretending this is a practical choice? Look, I get it. It looks incredible in the reveal photos. The little plants, the matching white dishes, the carefully arranged cutting boards leaning just right against a shiplap wall. But that is a staged photo, not a real kitchen. In a real kitchen, those open shelves collect grease. They collect dust. Everything sitting on them gets sticky and grimy within a couple of months of actual cooking. And the moment a buyer sees open shelving, they're thinking about storage. They're thinking about the fact that their random assortment of mismatched plates, random mugs from gas stations, and that blender they never use is going to be on display every single day. Open shelving has become such a polarizing feature that real estate agents actually coach sellers to talk around it during showings. That is not a good sign. Upper cabinets are not exciting. They are not going to win you any design awards. But they work, they hide the clutter, they protect your dishes from grease, and buyers appreciate functional storage every single time. Here's one that drives me absolutely nuts, and I say this with full respect to everyone who has done it. Over-customizing one room to the point where the rest of the house can't keep up with it. I see this most often in master bathrooms and home offices. Someone goes in and does a spa-quality steam shower with floor-to-ceiling custom tile, a double vanity with an actual marble countertop, heated floors, and a soaking tub. And then you walk out of that bathroom, and the rest of the house is still 2006 builder-grade finishes. The problem isn't the fancy bathroom. The problem is that now you have one room that sets an expectation the rest of the home cannot meet. Buyers feel that mismatch. They feel like they're getting one exceptional room and settling on everything else. A balanced renovation, where every space feels like it belongs to the same house, will almost always outperform a single showstopper surrounded by dated and unfinished everything else. Spread the investment evenly before you go deep in any one room. Let's talk about flooring, because this is where people spend the most money and sometimes make the worst decisions. Specifically, I want to talk about mixing too many flooring types throughout the same home. I've walked into houses with tile in the entry, hardwood in the living room, carpet in the hallway, different tile in the kitchen, and laminate in the bedrooms. Every single transition strip is a visual interruption. It makes the home feel fragmented and smaller than it actually is. One of the simplest things you can do to make a house feel more cohesive and more expensive is to run one flooring material through as many spaces as possible. Luxury vinyl plank does this well. Wide plank hardwood does this even better. Pick one and commit to it across the main living areas at minimum. Buyers notice continuity even when they can't name what they're responding to. They just know the house feels put together, and that feeling translates directly to perceived value. Now, here's one people argue with me about, but I'm going to say it anyway. Highly personalized tile in bathrooms. That bold geometric floor tile, the 6-inch hexagons in a terracotta color that doesn't exist anywhere else in the house, the patterned wall tile that you picked because it was unlike anything you'd seen before. I understand the appeal. It's a statement. It feels bold and intentional and artistic. But here's the reality of living with that choice. That tile is now the permanent boss of that bathroom. Every paint color you try, every towel you buy, every light fixture you look at, every mirror you consider, all of it has to negotiate with that tile for as long as you own that home. And when you sell, buyers either love it specifically or they're already mentally calculating what it would cost to retile. Neutral tile, large format white, warm gray, soft beige, gives buyers room to imagine themselves in the space. Statement tile gives them very little room to do that. Simple and neutral almost always wins on resale. Here's what no one tells you about some of the biggest farmhouse-style trends from the last decade. Shiplap on interior walls, barn doors on bathrooms and bedrooms, and those chunky open wooden shelves with black pipe brackets. All of those things burned extremely hot for a few years. Every renovation show, every open house, every lifestyle account, people put them in their homes, and they looked great for a while. But here's how design trends work. The faster they spread, the faster they become associated with a specific era. And buyers start to read them the same way they read popcorn ceilings or brass fixtures from the 90s. Not as charming, as dated. If you have them in your home right now, don't panic and tear them out. But if you are planning a renovation today, and someone suggests adding a sliding barn door or running shiplap across your living room wall, think carefully about whether you're making a design decision or chasing a moment that's already starting to pass. Let me talk about outdoor space, because this is an area where people either invest wisely or throw money away entirely. The mistake I see most often is over-landscaping with high-maintenance plants, or installing complicated hardscape that locks the yard into one very specific aesthetic. A custom koi pond with a waterfall feature, an elaborate tiered garden with rare ornamental plants that needs seasonal care, a pergola with built-in string lights, and a very specific stain color. These things cost a significant amount to install, and they are almost impossible to get a dollar-for-dollar return on. Buyers look at a complicated outdoor space, and they think about maintenance, not enjoyment. What actually adds real resale value outside is simple. Clean, low-maintenance landscaping, a functional and level patio or deck with decent materials, good perimeter lighting, and healthy grass or ground cover. That's genuinely it. The less a buyer has to think about managing the yard, the more they can picture themselves relaxing in it. This one is about paint, and I'm going to be direct with you. Ultra dark rooms are not helping your resale value. Deep charcoal bedrooms, black dining rooms, moody dark entryways. These are all over design publications right now. And yes, they look dramatic and intentional in professional photographs with controlled lighting and a skilled photographer. But in a real showing, with regular afternoon light coming through standard windows in a room a buyer is trying to visualize their own couch in, dark rooms feel heavy. They feel small. They make people uncomfortable in a way they can't always articulate. And here's the practical problem. Painting over a very dark color requires significantly more coats than covering a standard wall, which means any buyer who wants to change it is already adding labor and material cost to their mental budget. Light, warm neutrals, creamy whites, warm grage tones, soft sage greens are still the safest choices for spaces you plan to sell. Save the dramatic dark rooms for a home you plan to live in long term and love personally. Now let me talk about garage conversions, because I see this go wrong more often than almost anything else. Homeowners convert the garage into a game room, a gym, a home office, or additional living space. And they do it without a permit, without proper insulation, with a floor that's just painted or epoxy-coated concrete, and with no real HVAC connection. It looks fine when you're living in it. It functions okay on a day-to-day basis. But the moment you list that home, that conversion becomes a liability. If it was done without a permit, a buyer's lender may not be able to count that square footage in the appraised value, which directly affects how much they can borrow. If it's a non-conforming conversion in your municipality, it can delay or completely derail a closing. And if the buyer's inspector flags it, and they will flag it, you're either dropping your price or agreeing to fix it before you close. Garage conversions can absolutely add real value to a home, but only when they're done correctly, permitted properly, and finished to a standard that an appraiser and inspector can verify without reservation. And the last one is probably the most common mistake I see, and it's homeowners spending on cosmetic upgrades while ignoring the foundational stuff. I have walked through homes where someone spent $25,000 or $30,000 on a gorgeous kitchen remodel, while their HVAC system was 23 years old. Their roof had maybe 7 years left on it, and their electrical panel was outdated and undersized for what the house actually needed. And here is what happens. In the inspection, every one of those things comes up. The buyer sees the beautiful kitchen during the showing and gets excited. And then the inspection report hits, and suddenly they want a price reduction that covers a new roof, a new HVAC system, and a panel upgrade. Sometimes that reduction is larger than what you spent on the kitchen renovation to begin with. Buyers can see a new countertop, they can see new cabinet fronts, they cannot see that you replaced the furnace or that the roof was done 3 years ago, but they find out during the inspection either way. And if those things are in bad shape, your cosmetic investment is working against a ticking clock. Before you touch a single countertop or repaint a single wall, make sure the bones of the house are solid. Mechanicals, roof, electrical, plumbing. That's where value lives in the long run. Tell me in the comments which one of these you were about to do, or already did, because I promise at least one of them shows up in almost every renovation I've ever walked through. And if you're currently working with a contractor, bring this conversation to them. Not to second guess every decision, but to make sure you're both thinking about the house as a long-term investment and not just as a project to finish. A good renovation is not about chasing what photographs best or what's trending this season. It's about making choices that still work when the camera is gone and a real buyer is standing in your kitchen trying to picture their own life in that space. That's the standard worth building to every single time.